Hello, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. It is October 5th, 2018? Yeah, it's 2018. I had to double check there, but it is still 2018. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Feels like it's been quite a long time. I think the last time I did Feedback Friday was, what's the month before October? September? Yes, I think it was September 7th, so it's almost been a month. There's kind of a series of, I think it was Jacob's turn. I was sick one week, so Jacob did it again. I think I was away on another Friday, so it'd been quite a while. But hello, thank you for joining me. Looks like we have quite a few people hanging out in the chat. He's alive. Stejin says, yes, I am alive. I am glad that you are glad that I am alive. Almost the 6th of October. Daniel, you must be ahead of us in the amazing time zone system of the world. Well, today I'm going to get some feedback on Halloween, as well as Great Winter Hunt 2018, which is coming up. The weather's getting colder here, a reminder that the Winter Hunt is around the corner. So a quick fill in hunters here on the Halloween update. Another fleet of ghost ships is going to be en route to Narnia, so we're doing a similar event to last year where you're shooting down the ghost ships. However, this year the fleet is going to be led by a powerful admiral in command of a flagship. So you'll be shooting down the smaller regular ghost ships to be able to equip yourself with more powerful long-range cannonballs to then fire at the admiral ship. And you can see, I think this, yeah, there it is. If I can point at it somewhere, yeah, there's a long-range cannonball. So it's extra haunted looking, has some wings, can really go the distance. Daniel saying, forget Halloween, let's bring in the Great Winter Hunt. Well, I'll do one thing before the other here. Cannonballs with wings, haha, yeah, I got a good chuckle as well. I believe Lauren painted the cannonball with wings. I thought that was a clever idea. I can move it a little bit. You can really see the wings, maybe. If I can move it, there we go. And, do we get a big pillowcase after taking down the big ship, asks Stejin. You do get some juicier rewards, so you get kind of some super brie. Obviously, we're still kind of tweaking around the balance a little bit. Some new kind of fun charms, a few more exciting things. The admiral ship as well. Once you have those long-range cannonballs, it goes down relatively quickly, so it's almost kind of a fun way to cash out a bonus reward, but it doesn't take you a whole lot of time to shoot it down. Now, on a somewhat related, a similar spooky note as Halloween, we've also been working on, for quite some time actually, we spoke on a few Feedback Fridays now, an overhaul to the laboratory and the mausoleum. So the Burroughs is going to see quite the overhaul. That looks to be going well. We had our release candidate prepared this week as well, so we're planning on releasing that Burroughs update alongside the Halloween event. So the two should come out at the same time. We're going to add a new Burroughs ghost ship to the Halloween event. So if you're looking to check out the new mausoleum and laboratory comment, I almost said laboratory. I don't think we have a laboratory area in the game yet anyway. If you're looking to check out those new updates that we're going to do to the Burroughs, there'll be a ghost ship there as well. So you'll be able to make some Halloween progression if you want to check out both at the same time. Or if you'd rather shoot down a different ghost ship, by all means you can do that. Maybe check it out a little bit at a later date. Not adding too many new mice to the area, so there won't be too many new mice to collect. And those that we're adding have a pretty good attraction rate. So even if you're looking to pick up a king's crown for a few new mice, it should be relatively quick. Sally Sue asks, will we still have the spooky shuffle? Yes. We are kind of brainstorming ways of letting hunters use up their tickets a little bit quicker. I know some hunters end up with maybe dozens of tickets or even hundreds, and they don't quite want to click all that much. So we're playing around with being able to exchange a whole whack of tickets to play an upgraded board that has huge prizes. You still play it the same way, but that way you kind of cash out a whole bunch of tickets at once, and then you can play a better version of the Spooky Shuffle for increased rewards. So basically, you can still get the reward, but you can do it a little bit quicker. It's also a little bit riskier because once you upgrade the board, you have fewer tickets to make your matches. Will the Spooky Aura last until November again? I believe that is the plan, unless we change our minds, but yeah, it'll probably have a cap on it. Why are those traps on display? That is a good segue. Kenneth asks, which kind of brings me to the next part of the Mausoleum and Laboratory overhaul. So it required some changes to the adventure book, as you can imagine. The previous Laboratory and Mausoleum adventures, they used to be two very simple adventures to get a map piece, and that was it. They've both been combined into a single Slay Mousevina von Vermin adventure. So if you haven't joined us on previous Feedback Fridays, the new Burroughs content sees Mousevina von Vermin no longer as a event mouse. She's moved into a non-event group, and she's sort of the big bad boss of the mausoleum. So you're hunting through waves of zombies to collect some crimson curd to make crimson cheese and lure vampires toward your trap with the goal of slaying Mousevina von Vermin. So the existing lab and mausoleum adventures, they've been taken out and replaced with the Slay Mousevina von Vermin adventure, as well as the Digby adventure. It's removed until we can give an overhaul to Digby as well. So we've sort of changed the way you progress through the Burroughs. You don't go Laboratory, Digby, Mausoleum anymore. You go Laboratory, Mausoleum, and optionally Digby. So Digby's kind of a little bit of a side quest, side objective. If you unlock it, you'll have access to the Digby drill bot. But we are planning on adding a little bit more involved content in Digby one day anyway, not in the immediate future, as well as a HUD. So when we get to that point, I think we'll restore the Digby adventure at that point. Any choice for higher ranked players to play a lower ranked board this year? I'll write that down as well. We can look into that. I do remember that being a suggestion from last year. Please tell me the Spooky Shuffle doesn't spam your Hunter's Journal anymore. I think it still does. And just unfortunately, until we have kind of a better system, it is beneficial to have a log of the prizes you receive. Sort of helps sometimes with confusion, or if something doesn't load properly, maybe your internet cuts out while you're making a match and you don't have a record to see what you got. Station said, joking around with the toxic spill update could be a laboratory. I suppose so, yeah. Let's hope that's not what that toxic waste is in the water. Although I guess that's better than like radioactive toxic waste. At least it's organic. Still sounds like a crappy situation. Any new update and reward in the shuffle? Not at the moment. Things are... might get kind of switched up a little bit, but like I said, we're playing around with an upgraded board to let hunters use up their tickets a little quicker. But that might be just kind of a massive, larger quantity of rewards, or maybe a chance of more super breathe, things like that. ETA and Digby change around a year away. Absolutely no plans on it, but the existing adventure just didn't make any sense anymore because you wouldn't have to go to Digby to find the Mausoleum map piece, so we're taking that adventure out. With the goal of one day replacing it, but I almost think we might do Feroma before we did Digby, add HUDs into that area. Wasn't Digby always optional, asks Swift? Yes. It was by no means was there any sort of real hard progression there other than getting that one little map piece. It's also a nice place that you can stop by and pick up the Digby drill bot. As a lower level hunter, that's a nice little upgrade to the death bot. Is Halloween tomorrow? No, it should be. We're going to wrap up testing. It's not the. It won't be in the too distant future. Sometime before Halloween. Will the monster become a bigger of a pain to crown compared to how he is now at the lab with the Laboseum change? That's a creative way to combine laboratory and mausoleum. Asks Stejan in the chat there. No, I don't believe so. We took some care to not affect the attraction rates of the monster and the Black Widow mouse. Actually, he'll be slightly easier to crown. We've dropped the power on the monster, making the monster mouse a little easier to catch. It was a little over the top for master level hunters to be able to reliably capture the monster. And the monster now drops the Mausoleum map piece, so he's a little bit more important in the game's progression. So I believe the power has been lowered, as well as the reward for capturing the monster. So it'll be worth fewer points in gold because it's easier to capture now. Beth with the journal spam from the Spooky Shuffle. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of not ideal that you get a journal entry for every match you make. It's a bit of a symptom of us needing maybe a better journal system or a better sort of hunting activity log system, multiple journals, not cramming everything into one spot. But for the time being, it's kind of the only avenue we have at the moment. Did you explain the charm already? Actually, this is a long-range cannonball from the Halloween event that you'll be collecting to shoot down an admiralship. Jason with an off-topic question. Any plans to allow safely traveling from the tower? Not in the immediate future. We would like to do that, very similar to how Labyrinth and Zokor works. When you go into the tower, the seasonal garden will be locked, so you won't be able to go back there, and then your amplifier won't reset. But however, in the tower, there'll be a retreat button, and that will put you back in the seasonal garden and lock the tower instead. And then in the garden, there'll be a go-to tower button, kind of the way Zokor and Labyrinth works. But kind of no time frame on that. It's kind of chilling out in the pipeline of, hey, this idea makes a lot of sense, we should do it. And sort of when a developer has a little spare time in between projects, it's kind of on that pile of ideas to pick up and like, okay, I'm going to work on this today. What does this have to do with those 3 traps? All right, we'll get to that part as well. So as part of the adventure book changes, so we really kind of dug in there as well. While we're in there kind of really overhauling the way the master adventures worked, we took the chance to do a little bit kind of a bigger scope overhaul or assessment of the adventure book, especially when it comes to the beginning of the game and sort of how you flow through the adventure book, what level are you, what hunter's rank you are when you complete adventures. So we took the opportunity, we've overhauled the rewards that the, lower rank adventures give you in terms of title progression. And the overall goal there was to have it so that when you complete all the adventures for a title, or all the planned adventures for a title, you've roughly leveled up, or you know, by the time you finish all the master adventures, you should be Grandmaster because you're ready to move on, and so you don't kind of chill out and just have to kind of repeat, do the same thing over and over and over again before you can level up and move on to the next adventure. So a lot of the lower level adventures, we boosted how much title progression you get as a reward from completing them. We're also planning on retroactively adding all that progression to any hunters who've already completed those adventures. So that means when the update goes live, everyone should see their titles, or hunter's title move a little bit anyway. If you're really, really high level, it's probably going to be a drop in the pond at that point, so it might be just a %, but you kind of see it based on your titles. So now what that has to do with those 3 traps, and let me move this long-range cannonball out of the way again, is that created a little bit of awkwardness in terms of point requirements. And so we've also gone through the whole game and updated all the traps to have title requirements instead of point requirements. And so the goal there was to relieve a couple weird spots. The mausoleum in the laboratory was a bit of a weird spot, as well as Tribal Isles was pretty weird as well, and just kind of a symptom from 8-year-old content of where the end game was and expectations of how long people will be playing the game for. So we've replaced all point requirements with title requirements, and the goal there is to have it so that when you unlock a trap, you should be able to arm it then. So when you know, if you go to the trapsmith in the laboratory and there's the bottomless grave, well, it requires you to be a master, whereas before the points you would need would be like Grandmaster. And that was just kind of, again, a symptom of us not thinking the game would be running for all that long 8 years ago. And so a lot of these traps were meant as above and beyond rewards. So, you know, at some point we saw the mausoleum was kind of the end game. And so the long-term goal for players that stick around and keep playing is, well, maybe I can afford the bottomless grave to help me capture even more zombies. Obviously, over the course of a decade, I think the progression and the sort of timing of the game has changed quite a bit, where we don't need kind of traps as above and beyond goals because there's a lot more content to come. But yeah, we did go through, actually one interesting question there is we're a little unsure what to do when it comes to the temporal dissonance trap. So that is kind of a above and beyond, it's almost like it's an Archduke tier trap. Like right now, I think you pretty well have to be an Archduke before you could possibly equip that trap. And yet you can earn it in a Grand Duke location. So we're kind of on the fence whether we want to let it stay as requiring 1 billion points to equip, whether we want to set it to Grand Duke or Archduke. But that was sort of the only little fly in the ointment when we were transitioning all the traps to use title requirements instead of points. KDM asking if it will be applied across all traps. Yes, every single trap now, except currently, for the moment anyway, the temporal dissonance right now is the only trap that will have a point requirement. Everything else is a title requirement, and they've all roughly, they're all roughly around the time that you can have access to that trap. Again, kind of going back several years ago, points were sort of the restriction of like, well, here's a trap and a trapsmith, but it's meant as a long-term goal, so you need to go above and beyond in terms of points. Now, what we tend to do is use loot, or actually much more interesting game objectives to sort of time gate things. So something like, say, the Infinite Labyrinth trap. You need to do so many labyrinth runs to collect all the materials from Zokor before you can possibly craft it. But that's as soon as you can craft it, it has a Duke requirement. So you'll be able to craft it as soon as you have all the materials for it. There won't be an awkward spot where I can craft this trap, but I can't use it yet because I don't have points. We tend to use loot items now because it's a little more interesting than just straight up grinding out points. Time split dissonance weapon. Fair enough. Although some of the weapons have the word trap in it, but we do tend to say a base in a weapon makes a trap. If it's the only trap, I'd rather move it title to title requirement for simplicity's sake. Okay, and we'll be mulling that over a little bit. We still have a little time to figure out what we want to do there, but we'll see what other hunters have to say as well, whether it's kind of weird to have one trap with a point requirement. And if we do have it be a title requirement, should it be Grand Duke or should it be Archduke? Because then it would be the only trap that you could have all the materials to craft it, but you couldn't until you rank up, which might be a little weird. How will it affect event traps? A lot of event traps do not have a title requirement. That's it. Some of them that used to have a point requirement, now they've been roughly set to the title you would be when you have that many points. So I'm trying to think of an example. Let me see if I have. I think I have that checked out. Yeah, Burroughs overhaul. Bases and equipment. Ooh, I gotta update this interface to have title requirements. Okay. Well, actually, it's gonna be hard for me to find. Actually, no, I got a spreadsheet. Let me open a spreadsheet. Let me find that spreadsheet. Where is it? Globals. Hunter title overhaul 2017. That's not it. That's the wrong year. Trap requirement overhaul 2018. There's the spreadsheet. So let me see if I can find an example. Those are all novice. Ambrosio portal, no. Okay, so the brain extractor, there's an event trap. It used to have a point requirement on it that would mean you were roughly a master. I think it was 200,000 points, so now it requires you to be a master. But a lot of the event traps, they won't have title requirements, but some of the more powerful ones that are kind of meant, they're a little bit overpowered to use right at the start of the game, where they might kind of diminish some of the rewards of earlier game areas. They still have some moderate title requirements on them. Are bases also moving to title requirements? Yes. Basically all the trap components that used to have point requirements have title requirements. Got to look at how many Grand Dukes currently own and are using the temporal dissonance weapon to see how many people would be upset by making it Archduke. That's actually a really good thing to sanity check. I can kind of, back of the envelope calculation. I don't think there would be a single Grand Duke that has 1 billion points, but that's worth kind of double checking. Let me see if we can quickly do some ad hoc scoreboard surfing here. But yeah, I'll write that down to just run a quick little query afterwards. Temporal dissonance. What rank will the denture base be? I'm pretty sure it should be Archduke. Let me check. Still that spreadsheet open, so wait, nope, I closed it. Open recent. Why? Oh, that's text out. Get out of here. How do computers work? There we go. Trap requirement overhaul. And venture. Show me your benches. It has a Grand Duke requirement. Before it required 700 million points. It took me a second to read all those zeros, which that is roughly Grand Duke. So it already kind of had a Grand Duke requirement on it. You might kind of, be in the middle of Grand Duke. Yeah, you'd be about a 60% Grand Duke, somewhere around there, depending on a lot of confusing variables that affect your title progression, but it more or less had a Grand Duke requirement, so it's going to remain that. And yep, my computer fan is turning on here. I apologize for the noise. One day I should get an external microphone. That would probably solve that problem. Stesian just hit 35% Grand Duke with 700 million points. So there you go. You're about a third of the way through it. But it kind of simplifies things a little bit as well. There's no awkwardness where you arm a trap and a mouse pillages you and you can't arm your trap again. So all in all, I think it's going to work a lot better, especially it's more kind of in line with how we approach objectives in the game in 2018 as opposed to in 2008. The traps were meant kind of the above and beyond traps. You had to grind out points to be able to achieve those things. Hi Dave, this new upcoming Halloween, would it be Ghost Ship or Spooky Castle, is going to be a Ghost Ship. We're adding a sort of an admiral in command of a flagship of the fleet, and you'll be able to shoot it down using long-range cannonballs, which is the image above me there, that you earn by shooting down the smaller ghost ships. Any new Halloween Trapper base? Actually, I didn't want to spoil it because Jacob painted, I don't think he painted it on Feedback Friday. No, I think he did mice. But it's one of the cooler looking traps, actually, so I didn't want to spoil it. We'll leave that as a surprise when you finish or when you earn it from the Halloween event. But it looks quite a bit different from any other kind of trap. So it was pretty neat. But yeah, there's a trap or a weapon, a base as well that goes aesthetically very well with the new weapon, and 2 different skins, or just, no, there's 1 skin for that trap as well, to change it from something very scary looking to something very friendly looking. So you can choose whether you want to trick or treat, I guess. Legendary Night Hunters had no ghost ships last year because Bristlewoods and Tribal Isles had no ships. Any new ones? The Queso Canyon is getting a ship, and the Burroughs is getting a ghost ship, but no, nothing planned for the Tribal Isles. What's the power type? Trying to remember now. I think it was Shadow or Hydro, one of the 2. Ghost ship base? It does have a bit of a ghost ship theme, but the way that it is illustrated, it's kind of neat. And it suits the ghost ship theme extremely well. But anyway, I won't spoil it. It'll be a nice little surprise for the first person to earn it and arm it, to check it out and swap out a different base and see the aesthetics of it. New Halloween journal theme? Yes, I do believe so. We're going to have a new journal theme, and you can kind of complete a little bit of above and beyond objectives during the Halloween event to earn it. All right, so shifting gears from spooky Halloween theme to Great Winter Hunt 2018. So believe it or not, we've already started our brainstorming, planning out the Great Winter Hunt. We're trying to really get ahead of schedule here. Last year during event season, we got into a little bit of crunch time. That resulted in a whole lot of stress going on. So we definitely want to wrap up our Great Winter Hunt development well before December hits. We are fairly confident we're going to repeat the golems. That said, we're playing around with changing the theme of tunneling into the comet itself. So you may still be employing golems, and they bring back loot, and they bring back crackers, or maybe they bring back something other than the explosive crackers. But then what you do with those crackers, maybe we make that a little bit different, have a different narrative. But to kind of help us out, we wanted to know, what did hunters like most about last year's Great Winter Hunt? What did you like the least? Sort of what, reach way back in your memories of last December and think, what changes would you like to see happen to the Great Winter Hunt? What did you find fun and you want to see more of? What did you find frustrating and you want to see less of? Brian misses the Mega Buy Mart. Yeah, that's an idea. If they brought back toy parts and you were kind of constructing toys to then do something else. Very similar mechanics, but the theme and the narrative changed up a little bit. Love the loot. Tons of loot was the best. I think the tons of loot was almost too much. Yeah, I can see that, especially as we need kind of more areas in the game as well. So as there's more and more areas in the game, the events are kind of a cool way to spend some time at an event and just get a little bit of a turbocharge of progression to kind of help you complete all the content in the game as you do a few events, to give you, maybe a little bit of a 20% speed boost by doing an event. But without a whole lot more areas in the game as well, then it gets a little bit out of balance, where then there's a little bit too much turbocharging, but there's not new areas then to have new goals to go forth and achieve. Toy Factory in 2011 was the best Great Winter Hunt, in KDM's opinion. Take the Nougat Mouse out of the tours? I don't know the tours, what you mean by that. Can we get sub-locations similar to the years for the last birthday event so we can focus on King's Crowns? I need all the toboggan mice. That's a good suggestion. There was a little bit of that last year. If I recall correctly, the layer of the comet you were in influenced the mice you could attract. Like when you were in the gingerbread layer, the gingerbread mouse came out a little bit more, if I recall correctly anyway. But maybe we can play that up a little bit more, have it more of a more profound effect if you're looking for King's Crowns, or treasure maps kind of helps you strategize and target specific mice to try to go a little faster. I have more forgotten charms than I know what to do with. They are pretty useful, though. But I could see outside of doing labyrinth runs, then they would just kind of collect some dust. Oh, tournaments. Not always up on abbreviations. Candy cane mouse was impossible to find. See, now I think there was a candy cane layer, if I recall correctly. I think when you're on the candy cane layer, the candy cane mouse was more abundant, but I could be wrong. Yeah, but that is an issue. That is an ongoing issue with the Great Winter Hunts, because we have so many Great Winter Hunt mice now. Even if you gave them all identical chance to encounter, the fact that there's over 50 of them, they all now have a very small encounter chance, right? So, I mean, if there's 50 mice and you give them all equal chance to encounter, that's 2% each. That means on average it takes you 50 hunts to find it, which means it's certainly not unreasonable to go 200, 250, even 500 hunts without finding one. Let's see, it'll be like 0.98 times no, I would need a better calculator to do that math of 0.98 to the power of 250. The layers affected mouse attraction. I believe, I could be wrong about that, but if not, that might be a good idea to kind of have that be a more profound effect. Definitely now going forward, the Great Winter Hunts all do kind of need a mechanism in place to let you target specific mice, because as I said, there's a lot of them. Love the Forgotten Charm, actually. It's interesting. I wonder, are Forgotten Charms tradable? check here. Oops, wrong button. I'm going to buy Forgotten Charms. No, they're not. Shadow Charms tradable? Nope. Are Hydro Charms tradable? No. That might be an interesting fix for that. If those charms were tradable, then the players who like them could buy them, and the players who dislike them could sell them and buy something that they would prefer. Nope, not tradable, says Daniel. Yep, appears not. So that might be an okay change to make. Helps to get 500 Shadow Stalker. Yeah, you do need a very powerful trap to get the Shadow Stalker. Does that include Hydro Shadow Charms? I would imagine if we made one of the power type charms tradable, they should all be tradable. Forgotten Charms are the best for going on Minotaur runs. Yes, that is definitely their best use, but I could see, you know, if you're kind of done with the Labyrinth, then yeah, they would collect dust in your inventory. Yeah, different cheeses. That's an interesting suggestion from Brian, to have different cheeses attract different mice. We do have a lot of Winter Hunt cheeses. Are you going to change point requirements for bases to titles as well? Yes. All the hunting equipment will have title requirements instead of point requirements. May I ask how much the new Halloween weapons bases and cannonballs will cost? Kind of struggling with gold right now. I believe they are all free off the top of my head. Some of the non-limited edition ones, like the Skeleton base, or am I thinking the Eerier base? The Eerie and the Eerier base, they may cost a small amount of gold, but I believe the base and the weapon, the LE rewards, you get free by completing the event or completing objectives within the event. If different cheeses attract different mice, then you need a way to get all the cheeses. Yeah, it might be a little bit, might add some complexity, so we'll see. We can find a way within the mechanic maybe to do targeting of specific mice. Will we get some weird, interesting way to farm some good old Gorgonzola candy corn during the event? Filler stock of improved Gouda to fill over the course of the year? I don't believe so. It's since been replaced with Ghastly Galleon. So I think those cheeses are retired. Hold on to them for sentimental reasons, if you like, as they go a little firm but not ever stale in your inventory. Regular hunting would attract mice that drop all cheese at an equal rate. There's a possibility. It might be a little hard to kind of balance that out and get the progression and the time to complete the adventure right there, but it's a suggestion to keep in mind. Is Ghastly Galleon and regular cannonballs reusable from last year? Yes. Those are both kind of items in your inventory. That's a good point. With the Great Winter Hunt, all the other, the golem parts and stuff, I believe, are not reusable, so they've kind of melted away. They're all kind of statistics shown in the HUD. That said, I think hats and bells would remain in your inventory. You wouldn't lose those. Cheese conversions, yeah, that's an option as well. I have a 2014 Halloween scroll case. I hope it works. Yes, it should be fine. Should be able to get all the mice on the old maps. That said, the rewards you get for completing the 4-year-old map might not be stuff you're particularly interested in 2018, but you could work on it, or you could just open it, hope for some rare map dust, and discard it. Most maps have a somewhere between a 1 in 50 to a 1 in 10 chance of containing rare map dust. So you always have a chance to find something cool just by starting the map. All right, so I think I wrote down a whole lot of suggestions and feedback for the Great Winter Hunt. We're actually going to meet this afternoon to go over. It's meeting number 3 for the Great Winter Hunt brainstorming, go over some of the ideas and stuff, so that'll be handy to have a list to present as well. Will there be Halloween 18 maps as well? Yeah, as part of every event, or most releases anyway, we do some treasure maps. So I don't know if there will be a new scroll case. We might just change the type of map that you receive by opening the scroll cases. That tends to be sort of the approach we take now to avoid having to make a new scroll case every single year. All right, on that note, we'll wrap things up with the trivia question, as I appear to be losing my voice here. And trivia has to do with Halloween, and it's a number, and it's how many Halloween mice have a landscape image. So not portrait, but landscape. 48's too high. I think that's more than there are even event mice. 7 is a little too high. Some good guesses right off the bat. 42 is much too high. Let me test this reward link. 3. Swift had the answer correct. Unless I'm horribly mistaken, there are 3 Halloween mice. And let me find a spot to put that link up. 3 Halloween mice with a landscape image. They are the Bonbon Gummy Goblin, which is fun to say, the Hollowed Mouse, and the Titanic Brain Taker. Text. Yeah, add some text to the screen. My computer is feeling warm. It's kind of weird looking there. I'll paste it in the chat as well. Which one's the Hollowed, the Bonbon Gummy Goblin, and the Titanic Brain Taker? That is, unless I am horribly mistaken, which wouldn't be the first time. I see event mice, Halloween. It's got the Bonbon Gummy Goblin, the Hollowed, and the Titanic Brain Taker. 3 mice. Is that landscape though? Let's see here. Let's measure that. Dun, dun, dun. 290 by 245. Ever so slightly. It's almost a square. But all right, technically it is landscape. The width is longer than the height. Hey, go away. Whoa, what's going on here? Struggling to use computers. Will there be a new Rift Halloween mouse? No, I don't believe so. We already have so many Halloween event mice. I think we're just adding one new sort of main antagonist, if you will, the Ghost Admiral who's in command of the flagship. But then we're kind of not adding other Halloween mice because there are already quite a few to find and collect. So there will still only be 2 of the Rift-themed mice. You'll be able to find those when you are hunting in the Haunted Rift locations to collect your Ghastly Galleon. And as the Hollowed, and I believe something Minion. What's its name? It looks pretty spooky. The Hollowed Minion. They're both Hollowed. Hollowed and Hollowed Minion. So Halloween will start next week. I don't believe so. I think it's going to be the week after. Let me double check here. Calendars are fun things. Yep, the plan right now is Halloween event will start on October 17. Roughly at the time we start Feedback Friday, so whatever time it is right now, 40 minutes ago. Any news on the next area? We have been, if you've been watching Jacob on Feedback Friday, he's been painting mice for a Queso Canyon area. something to add some dragons to Queso Canyon. You'll be able to put your draconic traps to good use. Still a little early to go into details there, but it's going to kind of reveal the source of where all the queso is coming from to fill the river and have it flowing over that waterfall. You'll be able to hunt some awfully cheesy looking dragons. And then beyond that as well, we're kind of still brainstorming the first Archduke area as well. I would like anyway that to be not the next area, but the following area after that would be finally an Archduke area. Actually, yesterday afternoon had a little time to put together. We kind of had a whole bunch of ideas and notes that have been accumulating for what feels like years now. I was able to kind of compile those a little bit into another version of something that we could play a little bit. So I wanted to kind of share that with everybody in the not too distant future. On a Wednesday, not a Tuesday. Yeah, there's a little bit of, let me see here. Yes, Franco is off on the Tuesday, and he's done a lot of the work on the Halloween event, so we're kind of postponing the release until the Wednesday so that Franco will be here as whenever we can. Whoever's sort of really involved in that release, we like to make sure that they don't have that day off. An absolute end area that needs 14 map pieces from all around the game, from Meadow to Bristle Woods Rift. Well, right now, anyway, the Archduke area is planned to incorporate every single power type in the game, so in a way that would reward you for making sure that you've gone and found all the really cool best traps and equipment to have as much success as possible. Any news on the Platinum base? Nothing to share there. We'd definitely like to kind of do a tournament update at some point. That said, it's a bit of a time constraint for us. We did have some ideas to overhaul tournaments, add new gameplay types, rethink the rewards a little bit, but no time frame on that. Parental lag shatter. The parental power type may or may not make an appearance. If it did, well, I think we would finally retire it at that point, remove it from the game, and have the nanny bot be a different power type. Or if we did, it would be kind of a very small Easter egg to find, I think, in the area. So like an upgraded gauntlet, yeah, in a way, you can kind of think an upgraded gauntlet. A little bit more going on. It won't be, gameplay-wise, won't be anything like the gauntlet, though. It won't be, you know, collect a whole bunch of loot to move up, to collect a whole bunch of loot to move up. There'll be a lot more sort of choices to make exploration to do, and a lot more depth than the gauntlet has. Remove parental. I think that's maybe a conversation we'll have on Feedback Friday when we get closer to that area actually being available. We'll see about whether we should remove parental or whether we should make a nod to it. We'll see. Bring back the multiplier for tournaments. Yeah, there are a lot of improvements we'd like to make. We've just been prioritizing kind of other projects, but it is hanging out in the idea bank as something we're looking over. Oh, Brian says, seems many new areas are made in retrospect and all the rewards seem to be optional. Hardly any wiggle room between the Dragon Vine Ballista and the Ember Spear stat-wise. Well, I think it's a small little step up. The Ember Spear was kind of that middle ground because without having access to limited edition traps, your best Draconic trap going into Mosu Picchu would be the Ice Maiden, which is kind of a very ancient trap earned when you're a knight. So that's a way to kind of a little stepping stone, so when you show up in Mosu Picchu, you're better equipped to then go and try to earn the Dragon Vine Ballista. No coffee today. No, I have a cold coffee beside me now, it seems. Yeah, it's getting a little cold. Ah, the fan noise. Well, as my computer reaches new explosive levels of heat, on that note,